Greetings, fellow gamers. I am the Dungeon Master, and as this is my first video, I will be giving you a little bit of background about me first before we get into answering today's question. I have been a Dungeon Master and gamer since the age of 9 in the 1980s. So it's been 30 years that I've been gaming, mostly Dungeon Mastering. I'm also an admin for Dungeon Masters and Storytellers on Facebook, one of the largest RPG DM-centered Facebook groups that there is. The link to that is below if you want to join us, if you have any questions you want to submit. On top of that, I've ran games at conventions and am a professional Dungeon Master on Roll20. And so a lot of my answers are going to be from the perspective of somebody who runs games at a pay-to-play, basis. And so, you can apply all of these to, any game, but it's mostly focused on dungeon mastering from a professional standpoint. So, getting right into today's question. As you can see, it comes from Alex Miller, and he asks, he was reading about keeping combat intense by time limiting player turns. Do you do this? Why or why not? And this is a really great question. It's garnered a lot of responses on the forum. Everybody has their own opinions on this, but I can tell you player turn currency is a very important aspect of the game. And if you're allowing combat to lag down the sessions to the point where players don't feel as though they're getting their fair share of turns in combat, that is going to create issues beyond just the fact that combat takes forever, which is another, common question that we get asked about is, how do I speed up combat and all of that. So using some kind of time limiting factor does give you the advantage of being able to move things along a little quicker. Now, of course, the disadvantage with this is going to be that certain players are either unfamiliar with the rules, especially newer players, and with the advent of 5th edition and all of the new players that have come into the hobby recently, you have to be prepared to deal with players that are new, and some players just are not going to memorize all of the rules the way that other players would, and so as a result you're going to be dealing with players that need to take a little bit longer. So if you are going to implement some kind of time limit for turns, I highly suggest that you take your players into account when doing so, so that you don't overly limit a player's options by, say, having a 60-second time counter. I would feel that would be a little fast. Whereas having 3 minutes, some players might struggle with coming up with what they want to do on their turn even at 3 minutes. 5 minutes might be a little long. That might, bog down combat once again, especially when you factor in, 4 to 6 players. That's anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes per round if everybody takes the full 5 minutes. So, I definitely recommend something in the 2 to 3 minute range if you are going to use a timer. And, honestly, the answer, do I use a timer? Yes, when I need to. And that's pretty much what you're going to find is your best answer as well, is if you need to use a timer, you absolutely should. And if you find that combat is moving along quickly enough and everybody is getting their fair share of turn currency during combat, then you don't necessarily need to implement something like that, as it would just be extra work for you if it's not necessary. And as always, the lazy DMing style is often going to be easier for newer DMs. You don't want to give yourself too much work. And so if you don't need to use a timer, if combat's moving along and nobody's complaining, then don't. But if you find that there is an issue, absolutely set up a timer and use that to your full advantage. That was a great question, Alex. We look forward to answering more questions in the future. And you guys have a great day, and as always, good gaming.